Welcome back, everybody. So theme 2 is broken up in two parts. So the first part is about understanding the work breakdown structure. So we'll go through that and understanding what this is, a WBS, and also prepare a responsibility matrix. The second part, or the second recording, will then focus on sequencing and network diagramming principles. So let's get going with the work breakdown structure. What is this thing called a work breakdown structure, and why is it so important? In any given project, you've got three important things, or four things, which is cost. It is what needs to be done, who needs to do it, when it needs to be done, and how much is it going to cost. And when we look at the work breakdown structure, the work breakdown structure focuses on that first part of it, which is what needs to be done. So the work breakdown structure is taking all of the different activities, and again, this section will introduce a whole different vocabulary. We'll start introducing a quite interesting level of different parts and different vocabulary, different words and different concepts that are very specific to project management. And this is going to be your first introduction to what we call project management jargon. So the first part is activities. These activities are then broken up into what we call work packages. So your activities are grouped together into these logical groups, which are work packages. And these work packages are then grouped in relation to one another. So essentially your work breakdown structure is this breaking down of all of the activities down to its smallest part. And that smallest part consists of two things. Who needs to do it? What needs to be done? And how long is it going to take? Those three things, and generally it is very descriptive. It is put together into logical groupings, what we call work packages, and the resource requirements can be assigned to it. Accountability can be assigned to it, which means the person and the project manager can monitor and control it. It's normally a graph or indentured list. So I'll show you both. For the sake of your assignment, the requirement is that you present a graph. So if you go to page 114, and if we look at figure 4.1, you'll see there is a graphical depiction of what the work breakdown structure is. And immediately it looks like an organizational hierarchy, and immediately you'll see there are different levels and there are different people assigned to each grouping. So this would be what we call a work package, and in there there'll be a list of activities that needs to be completed, and there are different levels. So that's level 1, 2, 3, 4, and then number 5 would be your different activities. So let me show you what it looks like. So it can either be a graphical chart in which you show relationships, or it can be an indentured list. And why is it so important? Why is this numbering so important? The numbering shows you the relationship of each activity or each group of activities to each other, and therefore that numbering is very important. At this point, we know what needs to be done. Now we can start the process of who needs to do it. And that is the next step. So now that we've done the work breakdown structure and we've broken down every single activity into its smallest part, which is the activity, its smallest part, which is a work package, its smallest part, which is Paul is going to write a proposal and it's going to take him 3 days. You've got a person that you can hold accountable. You've got an activity that needs to be completed, and you have a time scale attached to it. And that's the smallest part, and that activity is what we call a work package. You can now go around assigning different responsibilities, and that is your primary and your secondary responsibility to each one of these work items. And ultimately, each work item must have a individual attached to it. Each work item must have somebody that is ultimately responsible and accountable for doing and performing that particular task. So let's have a look at the list of activities. So earlier I said to you that these are a list of all the work packages. These are all the activities, and you can easily see how they are described. They are normally described as something that is action orientated. There's a verb in there, and it has a timing attached to it, and it has a person attached to it, and it must be a comprehensive list. So for your assignment, I am going to suggest between 45 and 50 of these activities that are then grouped together and ultimately roll up into a list or into a hierarchy and ultimately create your work breakdown structure. Now that we know what needs to be done, now that we know who needs to do it, in the next section, I'll go through sequencing of activities and talking through the importance of sequencing those activities in a specific order.